You're highly welcome, my dear brothers and sisters out there. I'm glad that you just clicked to watch this message. Briefly, today I want to talk about Jacob and his sojourning with his children into the land of Egypt and the exodus of what happened. And these are the things that you need to be able to really understand and be rooted in the knowledge of truth. So, the reasons why these things were being recorded in the scripture is for our learning, as the scripture said, that these things are being recorded for our learning, for you to know and understand. Just like the scripture said, that inquire, I pray thee, of the former age. Ask thy fathers, and they will show thee, they will tell you how the Most High divided the nations, how they did everything. How the Most High did everything. Literally, how he divided it according to the number of the children of Israel. Now, in order to be able to really go back to be able to really study about what has happened in the scripture now I'm talking about, the study of the biblical history, the biblical knowledge of what took place according to the true knowledge on how things were being recorded about Jacob and his children. Jacob was somebody who was in a land. I want you to be able to understand that and know this, which is also, like I said, being recorded in the scripture. My brothers and sisters, you need to be able to understand that in this particular channel, I speak to brothers and sisters. I speak to different people who have different levels of knowledge. So when you are listening to me, my dear brothers and sisters, I want you to be able to really step up your own knowledge and your own understanding towards understanding the direction of where I'm trying to bring you to, because I speak to people who are on a different calibers, more especially on a higher knowledge of truth when it comes to the things which is going on in the scripture. So Jacob is somebody who, if you go into the scripture, the Bible recorded to us and showed us that the land where Jacob was in, there was famine there. And in this land, while there was famine, what happened? Jacob now sent forth his children. And then he sent forth his children in order for them to go and search for what? For a greener pasture. So as the Bible recorded to us now, what it means is that now they have to be able to take a journey from the place where there is famine into a place where there is what? Where there is food, right? And remember the ancestor of Jacob, which is Abraham. Whenever Abraham leaves a place where he is in, he left the Ur of the Chaldeans, and then he entered into land of Canaan. And then that was the reason why Canaan dried up. The presence of Abraham in the land of Canaan was what caused Canaan to dry. I want you to be able to really understand, because if you really understand the journey of what is going on, the spiritual journey of what is happening, then you would know why things are happening the way that they are happening, or why things are being recorded for the learning of the children of the Most High, so that you will be awakened to the reality of what is going on. So Jacob, like I said, Jacob, who is a son, who is a grandchild of Abraham, his ancestor, which is Abraham, left the Ur of Chaldeans, and he entered into the land of Canaan. And what happened? The Bible recorded that what? Now, that Canaan which they are in, there is starvation. What happened? Why is it that the presence of these people now has caused starvation in that particular place? It's because these particular people, when you talk about Abraham, Jacob, when you talk about Abraham, these people are going there with a higher vibration in order to suck that particular energy that is in that particular place. I want you to be able to understand what is going on now. Abraham, when he left the Ur of Chaldeans, and then they entered and he sojourned into the land of Canaan. After a while, the Bible recorded to us that the land of Canaan, and there is starvation. And now what happened? After the generation, Jacob, because Abraham was being promised the land, that is, the land of Canaan was being promised to Abraham. And so Jacob, being a descendant of Abraham, equally, while he was in the land of Canaan, now I want you to be able to really see and understand this particular transition, the transitional process that was taking place in the Bible itself. So while Abraham, in his own time, he has moved from the Ur of Chaldean to the land of Canaan, and from Canaan now there is starvation there. And now Jacob, who is in that particular land of Canaan now, is now migrating, still having the promise that was being made to his father, which is Abraham. Now, this land which was being promised to Jacob is equally the land of Canaan. Now, I want you to be able to really reason and see and understand. The land that was being promised to Jacob is equally the land of Canaan. Likewise, the same thing that was being promised to his father. Now, while they were in the land of Canaan, there was starvation. There was famine there. Now they are leaving it now in order to go towards the place. And so, while Jacob was there, he sent forth his own children to first go into the land where, just like the hub of a people. Now, this is a spiritual journey. So they sent forth, when you talk about now, Jacob now sent forth his children to be able to go and do what and see. This is why the Bible recorded that Jacob, remember now you are now visualizing Jacob in the form of what? Because like I say, if you have been following my message, I speak about what? Jacob being half, what you call man, the mediator between man and the spirit. So his spirit and what? And man possessing this particular spiritual power and physical power. So he is operating on both sides. Now, this Jacob now is about to be able to move. But before he moved, now what happened? He sent forth his children to be able to go into the land of Egypt. Now, in that land of Egypt, remember the Bible said that this is not actually the place where was being promised to them. So the land of Egypt is going to be like the equivalent of the Ur of Chaldeans that where their father was in, where their ancestor, that is to say Abraham, was in. So the Ur of the Chaldean is going to be, Egypt is going to be like the Ur of the Chaldean, because Abraham actually is not from the Ur of Chaldean, but he was called out from the Ur of the Chaldeans in order to be promised the land of Canaan. Now, likewise, Jacob, while he was in that particular place, which is the place where there is famine now in the land of Egypt, represents the Ur of the Chaldean, Babylon. When you talk about that Mesopotamia, when you talk about the place where, so in that particular place, now he sent forth his children. But Jacob himself, they are ancient beings. They are ancient beings with the knowledge that overrides the people who are in that particular place. When you talk about Abraham, for example, during his own time, the knowledge that the Abraham possesses, he possesses the knowledge of what? Of the stars. He possesses the knowledge of what? Of the star. Literally, that was the reason why when you see what happened in the scripture, the Most High, the Bible said that what the angel called Abraham and said to him, look at the star. So that's Malak taught Abraham how to do what? How to look on the star. I want you to be able to understand what is going on. So these people are not just ordinary beings. So whenever they enter into a place, they are going inside that particular place in order to do what? To suck that particular place dry. Now, I want you to be able to follow with me. Now, Jacob, now when he entered into the land of Egypt, when they entered into the land of Egypt, do you know and do you realize that the purpose of them entering in there was to go there and suck dry the land of Egypt? Do you realize this? Do you realize that everything that made Egypt what it is was being done by those people who entered there? The revelation, the mysteries of things which are in that land of Egypt. The Egyptians did not know nothing about what was going on in the land themselves, because these people were the ones who actually erected everything that they are seeing there. So the generation of Jacob who came after, the generation of the children of Jacob who came after in the form of, when you talk about the slavery, or in the form of the people who are in bondage now, those people actually were being sent in Egypt in order for them to suck dry Egypt. How are they going to do it? Those people who entered there, which are the children of Jacob, they are going to be the ones who are going to give the interpretation of the secret. They are going to literally be the people who are going to reveal the secret of Egypt, which is going to cause Egypt to fall. And when Egypt falls, that is going to cause their own rise. That is going to cause their own rise towards their own journey. So they know the secret of Egypt. Now, the same thing that I want you to be able to understand what is going on here. The same thing that Abraham did. Abraham went into what? Into the Chaldees, went into the land of the Chaldees. The land of the Chaldees represent the same way that you hear now. When the Bible talk about, Babylon, the place where a lot of things were going on before he was being called out. That land of Chaldees represent that Egypt. But now Abraham went there and then he saw he was being promised the land of Canaan. But now, so he dried the land of when they left the land of the Chaldees, they now entered into the land of Canaan. They sucked it raw. Talk about Abraham now. His children now left that land of Canaan because now Canaan is now being sucked. Now his children are being promised the land of Canaan. Now, in order for them to get into that land of Canaan, they had to pass through, they had to be able to stop. Where? In Egypt, which is the same thing when you talk about what's the land of the Chaldeans, or when you talk about the Ur of the Chaldeans. So when you are talking, so these people now, when they entered into that particular place, the purpose why they entered there, because these people are spiritual beings who had a knowledge that overrides the Egyptians. They had knowledge that override the Egyptians, and the knowledge which they possess is the knowledge that is going to suck these particular people who are called the Egyptians dry. The same way that the knowledge which their ancestor had was able to suck the people of the land of Canaan, or the people of the Chaldees dry. So this is the same thing that happened to them. So when they now entered into the land of Egypt, the Egyptians thought that these people were just like every other people, just the same way that people just, saw what happened to Daniel. They termed, those people who they called the Hebrews. So when they entered, the people were suspicious. They knew at the time, they already started feeling, but they did not understand the magnitude of what was going on. By the time they started realizing it, it was already too late. Because the purpose of these people, remember when you talk about the heliographics, when you talk about the Meduneta, when you talk about the Ensimbidi, you talk about all these writings that are in the ancient Kemet. Somebody got to be able to give the interpretation of those writings on the wall. And when you are able to give the interpretation of those writings on the wall, and remember, those writings are nothing but what? But the things which are being seen in the stars. These are things which are being seen in the stars. These are things which are being seen in what? In the cosmos, in the galaxies. So these are things which are already there that are being seen in the sense. So they needed somebody who can be able to interpret these things to them. Now I'm talking about the Egyptians. So they did not know when these visitors entered that these visitors are masters. And these visitors are actually the people who erected, who allowed the erection of those things and knew the secret, the interpretation of those things. So when they look at these particular world writings, when they see those things, those writings, those things are already giving them code, are already telling them the next move, how to do things. So they are able to really understand their steps, their movements in that particular place, which is called Kemet. So when they sojourned there, it was very, very, to the Egyptians now, they feel like, they have enslaved these people. They feel like they have done what? They have enslaved these people, right? And so what does the Bible say about Joseph? The Bible said that what? They had a dream. And this particular dream, now nobody could be able to interpret this particular dream. Only Joseph was called. And this particular dream, it was Joseph who gave the interpretation of it. Did you understand what that means? And who is Joseph? A child, a son of what? Of Jacob. These people are the strangers who sojourned in the land of Kemet. in the land of Egypt. And so when they entered that particular place, these people, like I said, they knew, they held the secret of Kemet. They had the secret of Kemet. And how is the best way to crumble a nation? If you have the secret of a nation or a country or whatsoever, a kingdom, when you have the secret of a kingdom, who is in the best position to crumble that particular country or that particular nation? When you walk, I'm telling you, when you walk in the most secret thing that has to do with the thing about a country that is holding that particular country or a nation, when you know the secret of that particular nation or whatsoever nation, when you people have the secret of a nation, who is in the best position to be able to crumble that nation if not you? And this is the case of these people. They had the secret of Egypt. They have the knowledge on how to be able to crumble this Egypt. So this is the reason why when the interpretations of things, when they began to reveal, when they began to be able to give the revelation, when they began to do things in the ancient land of Kemet, what do the Egyptians say? At the time they started realizing, why is it that they have left these people? These people are increasing. One day that these people they are going to do what this land is going to be taken from them. But meanwhile, the land that they are talking about, or the place which they are talking about, somebody built it for them. So what I want you to be able to understand is that this was a situation where these people have sojourned, just like Abraham sojourned. And Abraham he's the master. You know what they talk about? The master astrologers. Masters. I mean, that place, like you see, you need to be able to understand that during the time of Abraham, like I'm saying to you, all my brothers and sisters, during that particular time, there is no such thing as law. It wasn't the law that was guiding them. So those people were free to be able to gaze the stars, not like people who were being given the law. I want you to be able to understand that. So this particular time, these people were masters. To be able to do what they were masters, so their father taught them things. And so when they entered into Egypt, it was very easy. It was very, very light for them to be able to do what? To see the secret of Egypt, how to crumble it up, how to bring it down. And Joseph was being called, Joseph was being shown. And this was the reason why Joseph was being selected to be able to be the one to go on the forefront, to lead the way. To lead the way. So he went there, he entered there, and they think that they have enslaved him. So they think that he was being enslaved. And his brethren, while they were doing what they were doing, they did not know that the Most High is about to use him in order to elevate or liberate the people who are called the children of the Hebrews themselves. So what happened, as the scripture recorded to us, I want us to be able to really understand the magnitude of what is taking place. This is Joseph now in the land of Egypt. And he invited his brethren to come into the land of Egypt. And a portion of land was being given to them in the Kemetic land. In the Hamitic land, which is in the land of Egypt, itself the hub of where they are doing all kinds of things. Why? And these people took control. They took control. How? Because they have discovered the secret of Egypt. And what happened now? This is time now to start sucking them raw. And by the time that these people now, it is now time to be able to exodus, or the time to be able to go away. The Egyptians now started realizing that these people who have entered into their own midst, we are actually not who they really thought that these people are. Just the same thing that you see that happened to Daniel. The same thing that happened to Daniel when Daniel entered into the land of the Chaldeans. When he entered into the land, what happened? The Bible talk about during the time when Daniel he was a Hebrew. Just like his own brethren, when you talk about the Joseph and other people, just like, so Daniel was a Hebrew, he entered into the Chaldeans. And the king saw a handwriting on the wall, which he himself cannot interpret. Who did he call? Daniel. Who did he call in order to interpret it? The Hebrew. And when the Hebrew interpreted it, what happened? The Exodus now happened in the land, in the Chaldeans. Because that was what the interpretation of what them people gave is. So, but these people were people who were being seen as as captives. Where? In the land of in Babylonia. Just the same way that you see that what the people who sojourned in the Kemetic land, in the land of Kemet, in Egypt, They were just being seen as what? As these people are what? They are strangers. They did not know or understand that what? That these people are on a secret mission. So by the time that they realize their mistake, that why these people have already, they are now increasing. They are losing everything. Why? Because these people continue indirectly sucking them. So now what happened? They now said, you see what the scripture wrote about these particular people? When you talk about now the Egyptians, and I'm talking about the purpose of why you see Jacob entered into the land of Egypt. Because when he entered into the land of Egypt, his entrance was to be able to go and reveal the secret of Egypt. The secret of Egypt. So you remember what the Bible said, that when Pharaoh asked Jacob and said, how old are you? Jacob said to him, the years he himself, which is Jacob, has not even attained to the years of his father, which is Abraham, or Isaac and Abraham. He have not even attained that the years of his years, the days of his journey is continuous. Literally what he was trying to let Pharaoh know. Because remember that Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Jacob blessed the king who was in Egypt. And the reason why he had to be able to bless him is because Jacob is an ancient being who is coming. And now he has come into this particular domain, which is called Egypt, right? And so when he came into Egypt, at the time that he came now, the purpose of them coming there was to be able to come and explore and reveal, get the secret of Egypt, exploit it and take it away. Because remember, they were all in search of spiritual food. They were all, not spiritual food, they were all in search of what? There was famine in Canaan. And so they enter. So that famine now, they have seen a place where they are going to do what? They are going to absorb and suck these particular people raw. And so now, Jacob, the Bible recorded to us something that is very, very important for we to understand. Bible recorded to us that Jacob died in the land of Egypt, but his body was being buried in Canaan. Now Joseph died in the land of Egypt and he was being buried there. They were all mummified, or literally when you talk about, they were all being they were all being preserved. Their body was being preserved in Canaan and in Egypt. But the other children who their father blessed them before his death. Their father, when you talk about Jacob now, blessed them before his death. These people, remember, they were being told that when you go, because they know that they were strangers. I want you to be able to understand this journey of life, this journey of eternity. So they knew that they were strangers, and one day they are going to live there, and while they are living, they are going to suck the whole energy which is in Egypt. I want you to be able to understand what is going on, because we are talking about the spiritual beings. We're talking the commissions. When you talk about the Egyptians, now we talk about people coming from the stars, people coming from the luminary, now manifesting in this particular form. But there are things which have been happening from the spirit realm before it was being manifested. There are people who have been active in the spirit world before they are being manifested in this world that you're seeing. So this particular physical avatar, like I said, Egypt is just like the home which is being used, or which is being, just like you see the body. This particular pyramid of this world, which is already constructed where to be able to really trap a lot of people. But there are people, like I said, people like them, Jacob, they are masters in knowing the science. They are masters in tracking the secret of that particular Egypt. And what happened? The Bible recorded to us that the moment they started revealing the secret of Egypt, what happened? The Exodus happened. Now Pharaoh had no option, but rather than to do what? Than to give them away, because they are working with they are working powerfully with an unseen hand. Now I want us to be able to understand this now. So at that particular time, Jacob was somebody who had passed away. Joseph passed away. Now his brethren had to be able to continue. Remember that the man called Moses, right? Moses was somebody who was being raised by his mother while in Egypt. He was not being raised by somebody else, but by his mother. So he was being nurtured by his mother. And his mother is also a child of what that is coming from what? From these people, the knowledge that these people possesses in Egypt override what an ordinary mind can think of. Somebody from the house of Levi, which is children of Jacob, married somebody who is from the house of Levi, which is also the children of Jacob. And they gave birth to what? To Moses. And the mother of this child was the one that nurtured his own son and gave him a certain knowledge. And this knowledge that he gave to him was the knowledge that made Moses to be able to do what? To differentiate between his own people and the people who are called the Egyptians. And to the extent that these particular people now, at a time, you need to be able to understand, at a time, people at that particular time did not even know. When you talk about the people living around, did not even know the difference between an Egyptian and what, and when you talk about an Egyptian and a Hebrew. Now, why is this thing very, very important, my dear brothers and sisters? You need to be able to understand when the Bible talked about farmer and talk about the journey of this particular life. You need to be able to understand that Jacob, while he entered in Egypt, was there for a very secret spiritual mission. And that mission was to reveal the secret of Egypt. In order for Egypt to crumble, and how they are going to do it, they are going to suck Egypt raw, dried. They are going to dry Egypt. And by them drying Egypt, which means they have taken the energy. You remember what the scripture said. The Most High said that he's going to even put it in the hand of the Egyptians so that they are going to borrow. The people of the children of Israel, the people of the children of Jacob and the Israelites, they are going to borrow anything that they could. From which people? From the Egyptians. What does that tell you about energy? What does that tell you about resources? What does that tell you about the place where they enter? What does that tell you about their purpose of entering there? It's to suck. The purpose is to be able to suck those people dry. So you need to be able to understand, without these people being sucked dry, they would not know the difference between the power that they themselves possess and the power that is above them. You need to be able to understand. So this is the reason why they were being instructed to be able to do what? To suck everything dry they could. And what happened? The moment these people never wanted to leave them go. Until that particular power. So what the Bible makes us to be able to understand is that these other children, when you talk about the other children of Jacob, who also were in the land of Egypt. So this is now time for Exodus because they have gotten things. And so the Bible recorded to us that these particular people, what happened after they have gotten what they need, they had to leave. And now, this is now time for them to be able to make their journey towards the land of Canaan. Now, remember, like I said, the promise was being promised to Jacob that the land of Canaan is going to be given to you. This is the promise that was being made to your ancestor, to your father. Right, the land of Canaan. But while you are going this journey now, you have a stopover here now. In order to you need energy while you are going there. And so what they did in Egypt was to be able to come and increase their energy to fuel in. Some of you don't understand what is really going on. So they had to be able to come into Egypt. So this was the reason why when they left Egypt, Egypt got dried. That is why they were dilapidated. That is why you see Egypt completely dilapidated in the way that it is today. Why? Because the same people who built it, the same people who had the power, the same people who were the rulers of that particular place have sucked the energy which is right there. And now they have changed their location towards the place where you call now Canaan. When you talk about the same place in the continent, because you need to be able to understand that Ham had 4 sons. Right? And this particular 4 sons, now Egypt has been dealt with. Now, out of Egypt, now the promise is what? From this Egypt now, because those 4 sons, now Egypt has been dealt with, which is Mizraim. Mizraim has been dealt with. So the next movement now is to be able to go into the land of Canaan and take everything. Because that was where the promise was. The promise was not to Egypt. The promise was not. So now they have finished Egypt. Egypt is a baby. Egypt is a baby because Egypt was not able to decode the purpose of these people in their own land. When they decoded it, when they realized it, it was already too late. And so when these people left, they sucked them dry. And now they have their focus. I want you to be able to understand the spiritual journey. They have their focus. This is the reason why you need to be able to understand what is going on. Towards where? The land of Canaan, which is being promised to them. And in that land of Canaan, remember what the scripture say, that when they go there, they already were being told. So their journey of life have begun now this journey of life, this journey of eternity is you coming from a different, the shape and form where you were at before you came into this particular form, you can't tell, you don't know. But the Egyptians, But the Egyptians knows. The Egyptians knows the way that you were, the way they form, the shape of form that you were in before you were being manifested. This was the reason why the pyramid was being constructed, in order to trap a lot of sounds, in order to trap as many vibrations, as many energy they can be able to trap here, in order to allow this particular energy to be in the solid form. So this is why they built this particular pyramid. And the people who built that pyramid in advance, before they were being drawn by the same sound, by the same energy force, by the same vibration, were the children of God. So they built it in advance. They gave these particular people an assignment. So they think that they are the ones that own the land. But the original people who actually built it now came back to be able to let them know that we left this thing as a footprint because we are masters. You need to be able to understand what is going on. So at the time that these people have exodus now, they have left Egypt and they sucked Egypt dry. Now they face their face towards what? Towards Canaan. But before they get into the land of Canaan, not just Jacob now this time, like I said, while they were coming out, now a mixed multitude had to be able to do what? To follow these people. Now those mixed multitude, who are they? They are the people who are believers, because in Egypt had hierarchies. Egypt knew that there are what? You don't just do anyhow, because you know that there is power that overrides power. If you mess around, the higher power is going to deal mercilessly with you, because there is no such thing as mercy. You need to be able to understand. So they knew the Egyptians weren't doing anything that was, that was anyhow. So you need to be able to understand. They knew that there is hierarchy to different levels of higher ones. And the one that rules them all is the Most High Yahuwah, which is run through Yahushua himself. You need to be able to understand what happened. So as a result of these particular things, what happened? The Most High already arranged for the exodus of these particular people in order to use it to let these people know who are the commissions, who are the Egyptians, to let them know that you people are not the ruler. You remember what the Bible said about Pharaoh? For this cause have I raised thee, to be able to do what? To show forth my power, my might, my power, to let you know that this Egypt that you think that you own, you are not the owner of it. That I'm going to bring in children there. And these children are going to teach you a lesson. And they are going to teach you a lesson which you will never forget for your rest of your life. And now, after this particular lesson, they are just, these people just went, this is their journey. This is Canaan. This is Canaan, which was being given to them. But they had to be able to go this direction. This is why the Bible talks about this journey, that they are supposed to be able to go in a certain way. This particular journey now is taking them a longer time. These are spiritual beings who are coming in a different form. Now they are being manifested. But before they are being manifested, they are coming. These are descendants. These are luminary beings. These are no ordinary beings. You don't understand what is going on. These are no ordinary beings. You think that you are being deceived by the things that you see, or that you are being deceived by this flesh. Where were you before this particular flesh was being formed? This world is not what you're being taught